Gotcha. Gotcha. Oh, stay out, stay out, stay out. There we go. There we go. Ooh, that is a big bass. That's a really big bass. On this light tackle, it's the biggest one I've caught in a while. Well, hooked, we haven't caught him yet. Just gotta let him tire himself out without getting near these concrete rocks. He was under that ledge right there. Here he is on the line. 8-pound line, a very small jig. I'm gonna try to see if we can lift him now. This is where you gotta be careful. My hand doesn't have that reflect. Oh, and we lost him. And we lost him. He's still right there. That's depressing. That's so sad. Right, and I called it. The rod has that flexible give that you just don't have when you're holding that line. Just gonna try to get a good perch here. What we'll do is we'll just kind of fan cast across these rocks from here. There we go. Small guy, but pretty and well hooked. Good, really good hookup on this guy. There we go. Get that out. There we go. Fun little fish. Really just beautiful colors. You know, bass like this, as well as sunfish, crappie, you know, yellow perch, roach, dace, things like that. We don't have those last couple in this area, but just in general, you're never going to get much of a fight out of them unless you're doing like micro fishing, which obviously I don't have the gear for. But it is still just so nice to see such a pretty little animal. One of the things that just amazes me about most types of wildlife in general, and I think fish are probably the best example of this. Let's put him back, get a good look at him. Beautiful stuff. Put him back. Just gonna drop him right there. There he goes. So most wildlife, especially fish, they have this incredible ability to be incredibly beautiful and yet perfectly adept at just becoming invisible. And it's a strange relationship that animals have with color and patterning. You know, some of the prettiest animals you're ever gonna see, you know, one that comes to mind is like a mandarin fish or something like that. You know, they're just absolutely stunning. Like, it looks like somebody thought, what's the most beautiful animal I could paint? And that's what they came up with. But no, it's a natural occurring species of animal. And by way of being so beautiful, they are also camouflaged to their environment. It's this really interesting juxtaposition that a lot of animals have. It's beautiful, the pattern is breathtaking, the colors are awe-inspiring, but because they have all of them fitting together just right, that's why you don't see them. Really interesting the way that works. And that's my favorite thing about largemouth bass in general. You know, I've said before, I'm not a huge fan of catching largemouth bass. In regards to the actual act of fighting the fish in itself, I'm still not a huge fan of largemouth bass. I mean, you know, in respect to some other species, they don't fight that hard. You know, I've never caught a smallmouth. I've been told they're more fun. But largemouth bass, generally speaking, once you hook them, if your hook set is solid, unlike that one over there, if your hook set is solid, you tend to get them in. Whereas some other species, you know, like large alligator gar, which are almost impossible to hook unless you just are perfectly well prepared. You know, saltwater species like, you know, tarpon or large drum, things like that, just much, much harder to fight in. So as far as, like, if you were to ask me, like, would you rather catch a red drum or a bass, I'm going to say a red drum every time. No apologies. But that juxtaposition between being so stunningly beautiful and at the same time so well camouflaged, I think is just perfectly captured by the largemouth bass. probably the best example of that in these native Texas waters that I could think of. That's the appeal that I have, that I've found in catching them over the last maybe year and a half. So really pleased to have that fish, even though it's small. I'm not going to give up. Let's keep going. Get another one. All right, we're going to get some water and use the opportunity to change spots as well. Hop on across the street here. Don't get run over on camera. Although that would probably be my highest viewed video if that happened. Carkeys, carkeys. Ugh. Yeah. So hot. Okay, water, change of spots. Let's get to it. All right, so come out to my favorite spot. Just a little waterway in between the streets here. Looks like school's just getting out, so there's a lot of traffic, but hey, that's how you know it's my YouTube channel, because you can hear cars in the background. Anyway, I'm gonna try this little Rapala here that my wife got me as a gift. It looks like it's supposed to mimic like a cutthroat trout. No cutthroat trout anywhere near here. But, you know, the saying everyone throws out there is match the hatch, which is not bad advice at all. In fact, sometimes it's 100% necessary. You want to make your baits, your presentation look exactly like the food source that's available at the time the fish are going for it. However, oftentimes, especially with confined waterways like this, where fish kind of have to eat what they can, you know, you don't have to mimic the exact food source that they're used to seeing, as long as your presentation suggests the idea of food. It doesn't have to look exactly like what may normally be their food. So I'm gonna throw this around here. Also, another reason I came out here today is because, number one, it's right next to that pond we were fishing at. Number two, it's pretty close to where I live. Number three, I know there's fish in here, and I really want to see how this little lure works. So this is a good controlled environment to show you some fish and for me to get to play around with this thing for the first time. So, where's my... Getting old already, guys. Where are my sunglasses? Lots of tilapia in there. Probably not going to get a bite on this with tilapia. You never know, though. What I want to do... Oh, there's a bass right there. That was a bass. Let's set you guys right here. Ugh. Make sure you guys can see everything that I want you to see. This is what I normally edit out of the videos when I'm fiddling around with the camera trying to get it set up. It's really hard to do in the summertime. It's so dry out here. You know, staking the camera stand into the ground becomes very difficult. I'm going to take this off. My hat with it. Alright, just going to toss this out here. That pipeline right there is always a great spot to try. Make sure my drag is set right. Don't want to break off this brand new lure. Now it's a diving plug. And this is a very... Oh, got a hit. This is a very shallow waterway. So I'm going to fish this with a pretty high rod tip. I don't want it to bury itself in the mud. Not only is that a really good way to lose your tackle, but it's just not going to be a realistic presentation if it's got mud on the diving vane. Interesting, nothing yet. I feel like if I had used the normal spinner baits I come with, we'd have got something already. Which is not a bad thing. I mean, if you're fishing the same waterway over and over and over, you got to change things up, make it more challenging. So let's walk to the other side. All right, let's try along this shade here. It's kind of a deep spot. Seeing some carp, tilapia cruising. Lots of this. Man, I really wanted to use this lure today, but these trebles are just getting everything hung up on them. And I might switch back to this jig right here, just due to the fact that it's got a single hook that, based upon the weight of the lure, faces up and doesn't kind of drag on the bottom so much. Let's go ahead and switch these out. Put this back in the bag here. Just gonna dunk it in there. Actually, keep that open. See, I've got all this tag end right here. I want to make sure I put my extra line in the bag. See, this is the pocket that I store that extra line in, so it doesn't end up in the grass, getting tangled up around some, you know, poor duckling's feet. Or a puppy dog, which I think I've said this before. I say this a lot, and then I always end up editing it out of the video just due to time constraints. But I have actually rescued a little puppy once that was suspended in the air over the edge of the bank of the Brazos near Angleton, tangled up in somebody's fishing line. Just a big ball of fishing line wrapped around this puppy's legs as it hung over a river. And I pulled him up and I cut it off of him. And then he tried to bite me and he ran away. I was gonna take him to a shelter or something. But at the very least, he lived. Now look, that's my tag end right there. It can be very tempting to just toss it, but don't do it. Let's get that pocket back open. Stick that tag end right here. You might think, oh, it's just a little bit of line. Well, it can still tangle something up. And it can definitely be swallowed. All right, let's try this little flashing jig here. These are my go-to for light tackle bass fishing. They always have been. My uncle got me hooked on these fishing for white bass in the, is it the Nietzsche's River? The one that comes off of Sam Rayburn, I can't remember. Angelina River, that's the one. They are the go-to lure for bass up there during the spawning period in like February and March. But they work for all kinds of fish. God, even this one's getting loads of junk on it. Let's try one more cast over here. Oh, yep. Tiny little guy. I didn't even feel him on there. Little itty bitty bass. And that is just so indicative of how just voracious these guys are. Voracious predators. Look at the size of his mouth and the size of his body. Tiny little guy. And look at the size of the lure that he tried to swallow. That's absolutely amazing. Beautiful little fish. I mean, 8 inches long at the most. Yeah, about 7.5, 8 inches long. Cute as a button. And going back. There he goes. That was fun. You know, I didn't even feel him bite. I saw my line moving the opposite direction. I was bringing it back and suddenly it just started shifting off to the side. A lot of the times, these small bass, that's all you get. Let's see what we can't get going out that way. And look, right here, there's dust everywhere. Fish, we just scared a fish right next to our feet. Doesn't mean it was a bass necessarily, or a crappie, or anything that we're trying to catch, but there was a fish right here. Woo, gold medal cast. Look at that. Ah, thought I had him. Got it. There he is. Oh, nope. I tried to lift him out and I didn't have enough line taken in. Whoosh, there we go. There we go. All right, well, I'm really glad we turned the GoPro on for that hook up there. This whole time I'm talking to my main camera that's shut off due to the heat. Beautiful fish. Dude, nice and long. It's a long fish. He's very narrow, but he's very long. Let's go ahead and get him back. Right there. He's gone. Ugh, all right, let's get a move on. Try the other side down there. All right, so it's been a few hours. It's about 4:30 now. We came out here probably around 1 o'clock. Just wanted to see what happens when things cooled off a little bit. Looking out at the pond now, you can see there's activity all over the surface. Some of it's reachable. Casting this spoon with the St. Croix rod, I can get out there. A lot more bird shit up too. We've got a cormorant on the left and a great white egret and a blue heron on the right. And they know what's up, so they're a good sign. My thought is that as it starts to cool off just a little bit, a wider variety of fish might become more active. So let's start here. It's coming right back down to the same spot we started at earlier. Alright. Stake you guys down here. Take this off. Take my hat off and my glasses off with it. Alright, here's how we're going to finish up our day. We're going to give the bass a rest. Try to catch some sunfish like this one. Really pretty. Now, the reason we're catching these sunfish is specifically because I want to use them as bait for hopefully catfish tomorrow. So, we are going to be keeping them. Let me show you what we're using. Little bobber, tiny one. Come down, little split shot, little BB shot. And a small cricket hook, I think is what it's labeled as, but I mean really, it's just a long shanked hook for panfish. And for bait, we were lucky enough to catch one of the sunfish on just some old like packaged shiners that we had. But once you catch a sunfish, ideally, you know, I'd be fishing with worms, but once you catch a sunfish, you can just use the guts of that sunfish to catch all the rest, and that will work as good as anything else. So if you're ever out fishing for sunfish and you're short on bait, you just got to get one, because that's the intestines of the first one I caught. It's going to last me the rest of the day, and I will catch fish after fish after fish on the entrails of that one. So let's turn you guys. I want to show you where we're fishing here. All right, if you look out over here in the shallow corner with these rocks, I'm just going to cast that out right there. There it is already. Already something's hitting it. I'm either going to wait for it to go under, a consistent tapping, or sliding off to the side. As soon as one of those occurs, I'm going to set the hook. And when I say set the hook for panfish, what I mean is straighten out the line. Oh, that was a nibble, and I lost him. I'm not going to set the hook hard, because you just rip the hook right out of their mouths. You basically lift into the fish. Now, not only are these fish, you know, cannibalistic, they'll just eat each other in general, but when you're fishing for small foraging fish like this, using their intestines is really good, because it's full of whatever they've already been eating. So there's his intestines, and there's the digested enzymes inside of, you know, whatever it's been feeding on. That's going to smell exactly like whatever these fish already have on their minds. Bite down on the shot right here. Don't do that. It's a good way to lose your teeth. Has not happened to me yet. Check that out. Tilapia. Not what we're fishing for. Not going to use you as bait. Today's your lucky day, buddy. And before you even ask why I put him back, it's because there's 7 billion of them. Killing that one would make zero difference. I did not come out here today to kill tilapia. Well, we got a bigger fish on, y'all. What is this? Oh, wow. What a beauty. What a beauty. Check you out. Check you out. Guys, what a gorgeous fish. Oh, you're just fantastic. Let's get you on the main camera. Wow. Check out this beauty, guys. What a wonderful, wonderful, I think that's a warmouth. Beautiful fish. God, they are so bass-like. And granted, oh God, come here. Granted, they're all in the same family. The sunfish and the bass and all these guys are in the same family. They're all in the sunfish family. So they are close relatives. But this one just takes the cake. What a pit bull of a sunfish. God, just fantastic. And I think with that, we're going to call it a day. If you look down on the bar, the time bar for this video, and there's still more footage, then yeah, I caught something else. Keep watching. But as I film this, I'm concluding our episode. Beautiful animal. Let's put him back. There he goes. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.